We are back, everybody. Glad to see everybody again. And this is Dr. Brawley, and I'm here with Austin.
I'm here.
We're gonna just jump right in with the art of properties and just talk more about. Is it financing we're hitting today?
A little bit of everything.
Okay.
So the whole process of buying and selling and what all that entails.
Okay.
Yeah. So I know we cater to most of our echelon of people are in the luxury presence.
Right.
I think though that I've seen in my experience with that is that everyone thinks just because you got money you know how to use it, and that's not true. At all.
Not true.
Not true.
Right.
And I think that they lose a lot of hand-holding during all these processes.
Right.
Or just knowledge and connection because everyone just thinks, oh, well, they got it. They know what to do. They know what's next.
Right.
So they lose a lot of that. Like just specifically in residential, you see a lot of the process taken away, and the feeling you get whenever you do all of this exciting stuff and getting a new property, because everyone thinks, oh, they've done this before. They know what's going on.
Right.
I don't need to check in. I don't need to explain that to them.
Right.
Whereas that's missed a lot because that's not true.
Because there's like little things, ends and odds, especially because, you can have, a lot of money and, like you said, don't have the connections and the filters to move your money or your assets the way that it needs for you to maximize your potential in the real estate industry.
Right.
Whether it's a high-end home or a commercial big property. So let's dive in more. Tell me more.
Yeah.
Let's hit it. And I'll tell you my knowledge too on it.
Yeah. So obviously the first start of the process is figuring out if you got money to do it.
Right.
And if you want to finance it, use cash, because some people come into money that they could buy whatever they want with cash.
Correct.
That doesn't mean you need to use it. So, people always say cash is key. I think that people get that in their head and they're like, oh, I need to use it for everything.
Right.
No, that's not usually
smashing
the
my
case.
dream.
Yeah.
I'm always like, cash is king, honey.
Yeah, king.
Yeah.
So it is, though, in other ways.
Right.
So, you want to always protect your assets. So
Correct.
you want to have something there, be able to float through times.
Right.
You
Hard
want some
times.
cash for that.
Right.
The bank's not going to give you money to float.
Right.
They don't.
Because they think if I'm giving you money to float, you can't pay me back.
Exactly.
You might be dealing with some issues here.
Exactly.
Right. And it's not necessarily you are. It's just that you have your money allocated in so many projects that you need some leverage. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's a big thing on. Just wanted to go over that little touch on it, is not tell everyone exactly how to do it, and because it's different in every situation.
Right.
Every single transaction I've ever done is completely different. I've never had one the same.
Right.
There's always something. So, and finding financing is usually where people go a lot of times first. They go talk to a bank and say, hey, can I buy? And this is what I got. And most of the time it's, heck yeah, you're completely prepared. You're a golden child in my eyes. So let's do it. And then they just go look on Zillow. That's what the trend is right now. 90% of homes are found online now.
Really?
So, yep.
So the percentage, and when did that big shift happen?
Zillow.
Zillow made the shift happen?
When Zillow blew up, they changed the industry.
Really?
And they know that. They know they own.
Man, I didn't invest.
Yeah, no joke.
Really?
Yep.
So, do we even know the history of Zillow? I don't know.
I don't know the complete history of Zillow. I've gone over it a couple times, with stories, but...
And I'm going off the beaten path. Yeah. But as we're talking, I'm just going to look real quick.
Yeah.
So they changed the market.
They changed the market in the mindset of they made the one thing that you couldn't do before, and that was look wherever you wanted at any house or commercial property, whatever you're looking for, anywhere across the world.
So, question to this, and no, don't be coming after me. Don't be coming after me. I got enough going on. But does this, we talk about hard when we looking at properties for the state of Texas and kind of looking at stuff, have they overpassed them almost, I guess, right? The real estate entity, HAR, to look for properties.
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
So where I mean, because now it's full functioning. I know realtors have to input the information and stuff like that. And oh, I like this topic because I'm about to go all over the place with it. No, seriously, because you got Red Door,
Right.
you got so much, if I'm saying it right.
Mm-hmm.
But um they changed the game, and with them changing the game, now a piece that we always looked at for everything in real estate, because I still do it, is almost, I mean, what do they need to do to catch up? I know that's off the topic, but man.
A lot. Not really just so much. It's
Right.
that a lot of those MLS is what they're called.
Right.
Multiple listing service. That's all Zillow is. It's another MLS, but they're the now umbrella because they cover anywhere. So what they did is used to you looked in that area and that was it. So each area had their own MLS.
Right.
R is ours for hundreds of miles all around the whole Houston
Right.
metro. So whenever I was looking for a house, I would go to HAR. And
Correct.
because I'm buying in Houston, that's where I'm looking at. Zillow was saying, especially when you're relocating, you don't know how to search for that. You're looking on the internet forever and ever because I don't know what's called HAR. I know I'm moving to Houston. I don't know what it's called. I don't know it's called Houston Association of Realtors. Because some of them have odd
Because they're
names.
not from here.
Yeah.
That's our thing.
Right.
Texas thing.
Yeah.
That's us.
Yep.
Hard.
So I don't know that. I'm not moving there. Now Zillow said, oh, okay, and so there are areas that have weird names too that don't have the
Right.
city name as, it's not that simple. So they said, we're going to partner with all of these MLSs and we're going to put everything all on one. So that I can look at if I'm going to go over here and buy in New York City and next year I know I'm relocating to Florida, I want a second home in Florida, I can look at Florida at the same time.
And Zillow, you could sell too, right?
Yep, you can sell directly through Zillow.
Without having a realtor.
Yep, you can do for sale by owner. That's a whole nother department of theirs that you can for sale by owner, and you pay just a little bit. You have to upload.
So that's why the
yourself.
relationships are key
Mm-hmm.
with the realtor and because repeat business,
Right.
a relationship already.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. You taught me something.
They took it a few steps further, which we don't have to go into, with
Right.
realtors that go beyond trying to connect back with. Now they had a gap in. Okay, so I found my house on Zillow. What do? How do I get a hold of someone? So then they were like, oh, we'll start putting
A contact
realtors
base.
on here that you can
Right.
get a hold of realtors.
Okay.
And then the same with financing. Oh, we're going to pair up with lenders. And
Okay.
I'm going to put a lender on here because I can just go through Zillow and get a real estate agent to go show me the
Right.
house. And I got somebody to help me with financing. Now I got it all on one platform.
Wow.
So
That was really it took some out of box thinking, or it took somebody to be frustrated with a system moving from state to state and they
Right.
couldn't navigate this whole thing. And we are an international that's one thing about the United States, especially states
mhm.
have to get better at, is that we are international.
Right.
People are on LinkedIn comparing jobs and moving from state to even out of the country.
Right.
I mean, I had a friend that left Houston. I haven't seen him since. He went to Europe. Now he's doing well.
Yeah.
He's not kidnapped or nothing.
Right.
But he left and he has not come back. And I remember that move for him, and that was like almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Or 15, somewhere maybe 15, 20 years ago. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
So we talk about the financing and what all there is for financing, and we're not here to go through every scenario, but just some creative financing when people have assets and things of that nature. So let's just talk a little bit about the process of that, a little bit organizing the process of it. What does someone have to really know about their? Because what I find out is a lot of people with money, they got a lot of money and they don't know, like what you said, what to do with it or how to move it around to make it work for them.
Right. And it's funny that you said creative financing. So that's like that's what we actually call it.
Oh,
so
really?
Some of the lenders
Okay.
that taught me all about it when I was first getting into the industry, because it's pretty new of
Okay.
everyone being able to use this now.
Right.
Used to, back in the day, it was if you knew someone to make this work like this,
Right.
that's how you made the creative financing.
Right.
the
and it's nothing wrong with it. It's not a bad thing,
No,
and
it's
it's not a
sketchy off
or
the books thing.
right. It's not a sketchy off the books thing. This is like legitimate because there are people that have stuff everywhere, and I'm one of them.
Right.
Have stuff everywhere, and you probably are one of them.
Right.
And you don't know what you need to do because you got your eyes on something.
Yeah. Exactly. And you don't fall into, because sort of how it works too with mortgages is they have a checklist. So if you don't fit right in those boxes,
you don't get it.
You don't get it. Correct. And they're like, well, that's crazy because
I got money.
I make 80 times what any of that says. What do you mean?
With $1 million sitting in the bank.
Yeah, exactly. You didn't follow exactly what this checklist says, though. So in doing that, someone said, okay, well, how this used to happen, and someone was like, well, let's just put it together and make it a actual process that's used by anyone and make it public. So it's saying that, and they call them, the technical term is non-qualifying mortgages. Okay. So pretty much if someone didn't qualify for the regular mortgage, you now have an option to go this investor route, pretty much.
And let me make it very clear to everyone, especially that's watching this podcast. It does not mean that you do not qualify because you have no money and you have a credit score of 200. We're not. We are not saying that. Right. We're saying that you don't fit in the boxes of the traditional loan, but however, you still got a lot of money, and you have money sitting in the banks, millions of dollars sitting in the banks, and you probably don't want to just use all that money just to purchase something. You can make the notes. You can pay the notes based off of how you have it, but because of how you have it, you don't fit the regular boxes.
Right. And you might have the year before that, but just this last year, going off last year's records, doesn't look so good.
Right.
So the regular bank doesn't want to just say
it looks scary to them.
It's a little too high risk for them.
Right.
Because they have like a risk factor that they run off of. So they say now we have a pool, and each bank now has like formed their own group of investors that they'll follow, and say they pretty much put your loan out there, and that investor now becomes your bank. And they say, yep, that looks good. We know how it works. We know that you own a business and it's up and down.
Right.
And that this year you're showing.
And we know that business industry.
Right. Exactly. And that too, that's what attracts some of them is they're like, oh yeah, I know he's about to do well. He'll cover his mortgage. And whenever they do a little bit deeper dive, because you are a high risk individual to a regular bank. So we'll dive in a little bit more. Give me that. Yeah, that looks good. This is on paper. So yeah, I'll give you that loan. So.
And it's because they have the assets and the money to do so, and they also have things that they could liquidate and sell if things got if things gotten too rough.
Exactly.
They can liquidate something that is not putting them out of whatever they're trying to get to, and it was just an asset sitting over there, such as land. I actually did it myself to get something that I wanted in real estate. So I liquidated something that was sitting, but I got it at a cheap price and ended up making a lot, and then utilizing those assets, so it could be on paper that, I had something to be able to move that leverage.
Right. Yeah.
So
it's pretty cool.
So is that something that a lot of people are using now, or?
Oh yeah. It's more popular than ever. You see a lot of like what it's geared towards, you can tell, and a lot of lenders, as soon as they see it come across their desk, someone like this, that they push them to it, is a business owner. So a lot of people say their business makes a lot of money, but they don't claim it as their individual income. They don't pay themselves.
Right. Not yet, because it's not right.
Yeah, because they want the business to keep floating
and working well.
Right.
And a lot of times you need about 5 to 6 years to get your business really off the ground that you need to see. And the last person that usually gets paid is the person that created it.
Exactly.
All the employees get paid, people get paid, but the person that's building the business is in the trenches working very hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And taking the lease from it. So yeah.
Taking the lease from it, but growing it at the same time, and then wanting to live their lifestyle too. So yeah. So I see that we're going to be touching some different things about like you had talked about that debt to income ratio around 43%.
Yep.
Um,
That is though, yeah, I kind of wanted to go on a deeper dive of which, I'm not a financer, I'm not a
right,
mortgage financer, so I can't I'm just guiding everyone of
right.
what I've learned and best case
Taking
scenario,
your
worst case
notes.
scenario.
Right,
Yeah, because I give my clients all of this information
right,
and then I say, okay, but go talk to a lender about this. This isn't,
right,
this isn't, I don't have a license for this.
right,
These are experiences that I've gone through and these are scenarios that I've seen
right,
because a lot of people get turned off. They go look at a house. Sometimes, people do go find the lender first and then the realtor.
right,
Some people go straight to the realtor. Some people go look at houses for fun.
right,
So
right.
uh,
Lots of those.
yeah. But I like having conversations with people because they might go look at houses for fun, but have in the back of their head, well, I know I'm not going to qualify for a mortgage. So I have this conversation to say, yeah, will you tell me all about your.
Right,
And I'm like, yeah. Look, I have a calculator right here that's by a mortgage lender, and
right.
it's saying you're fine.
And I met somebody that had a 765 credit score, and they were like, I have a business, and I'm not going to be able to qualify. And I was like, why wouldn't you just give it an opportunity? Go talk to a lender, go see. But a lot of especially new time business people, they get shied away thinking that they can't even own a home,
Right.
due to the fact that they have a business. Now, I'm not saying if the business is, you got Molly's ice cream parlor, snow cone, and you only do snow cones 1 month
Yeah.
out the year,
Right.
then maybe that's a hobby and not necessarily a business. I'm talking about some real, businesses that's going on here.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what that turns into, everyone sees that 43% average. 'Cause
Right.
A lot of people will do that research and see that, and they think, oh, well, I know my debt to income ratio is
Right.
not that. Which debt to income ratio is literally that. It's your debt by what income you
Right.
make from that, and that percentage is what they go off
Go
of.
off
But
of.
these non-qualifying mortgages make exceptions for all of that.
Right.
So they're
Because they got
saying,
investors.
they're saying right, and
Right.
but they also they're in business, so they see, yes, I understand that that's that high. All of this is being paid, and you make enough to
Right.
pay all of this, and it's going to change over
Right.
time, or it has changed, by the books. They can see that, so they say, this is where the cash is king comes back in, is saying, yeah, we'll do it,
Cha-ching.
but we want you to bring a little more money to the table.
Right.
So if you
Right.
can do that, not drain all of your assets, but put this a little more up, will qualify you for that same mortgage that you would get from a typical
From
bank.
typical bank.
Yeah, and so
Do you see them selling it once? Because in a typical bank, they soon as like literally the ink on the paper is not even wet,
right.
and now you're getting a phone call
That's
from National Bank of America or wherever saying I own your loan now,
Mhm.
and you're like, wait a minute, I just was at title
Right.
at the title company
No.
at noon,
Yeah.
and I'm getting a phone call at 5 o'clock saying you sold my stuff.
Right.
So do you see that a lot in those kind of like
Absolutely.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're now, these investors are, like I said, acting just like a bank, and a bank
Right.
makes money off of money.
Right.
So that's what they're doing is, oh well, these people want to buy all of the loans I have out right now for
Right.
1% more. So heck
Right.
yeah,
That's money.
I'll take the 1% because I need some assets now.
Right.
So, or I need some cash. So I'm gonna let them take over all these loans,
Right.
and I make this 1%. I'm gonna go do it again.
Right. And that's a lucrative business.
It is.
I guess I'm gonna jump off subject real quick, and maybe you could help me because at one point, and is it called wholesaling?
Mhm.
Is it wholesaling or wholesale purchase or?
Wholesaling is a thing.
Yeah. So at one point, those guys was jumping in, like where are they at? And where the investors, where, not like saying where they're at to go find them. I'm saying, where did that fit? Because at one point, all you saw on your feeds on social media is become a wholesaler today.
Right.
Come to my 3-day seminar and I'm going to teach you everything about wholesaling. So it was like, we knew the word investor, but then there was a new terminology that came out was wholesaler.
Mhm.
So and that's just literally random people calling on the phone. saying, do you want to sell, or maybe I'm wrong, and don't come after me.
Yep.
Don't come after me talking about it. I'm not saying you're a little bitty person. I'm just, if you're a wholesaler out there, I'm just saying, because you're making your money. I'm just saying that at one point that was like the thing, and now it's kind of leveled off or something. And no,
Absolutely not. And that's funny. It's funny that you have a thought on, you think it's buying cheaper homes, what you're thinking
yeah,
when you
I'm
say
like,
that.
yeah,
No.
what is
So that's
going
not
on?
what all that looks like. Because you see that having a huge spectrum.
Okay,
So a lot of times there's larger wholesalers that look for good deals that they see going on in different areas.
okay,
And they make the connection to the investor. So like I just had a friend that works for my brokerage that reached out to a wholesaling company
okay.
because he said, I need help getting rid of this. I'm fighting the county for what it got deemed to. It was commercial and got deemed to residential.
Okay.
And he was trying to fight it to keep it commercial. So he calls his wholesale company, explains, and he was like, I got a guy in Canada that's been looking down here for this exact thing. So
Right.
they're the ones that make that connection. They have the investors on this side. They also they'll work with realtors a lot
Okay.
to say, if you have any of these deals, let me know. And they bring this investor to this property and they make that transaction happen.
Okay, so they're building their portfolio as a wholesaler. They're not just some like little person just dialing up random phone numbers.
Right. They're not like
Yeah.
just buying ran down houses
Right,
and trying to find
okay.
somebody to flip it, which that's another niche with that.
Yeah.
So it's like,
There's
so it's
all
a
these
spectrum.
niches.
Yeah.
Right. Right. In it. So that's pretty, so they're literally just as equivalent as the investor of the because they don't have to just necessarily buy the small little things. They're buying big commercial stuff as well.
Right. And yeah, so a lot of times they're the middle guy. So they
Okay.
won't actually purchase it themselves. I just got this investor over here that had wanted to buy something like this. So I
Right.
bring this investor to run through me to go buy this because he
Right.
probably could have searched and found that himself, but I'm the one that had the real estate agent call me.
Right.
I'm the one that knows the investor, so I'm gonna make this transaction
Make
happen.
that transaction happen.
Mhm.
So it's almost the same as the investor that is investing. The wholesaler is doing that same little, transaction. The investor is saying, "Hey, I'll buy that portfolio." They couldn't qualify here at the
Exactly.
bank. I'll buy it, and then now you got the wholesaler doing the same thing, but having a whole group of people that he knows what
Exactly.
they want, and they're probably touching base with them once a week, saying, "Hey, what are you looking for? What do you want? What are your needs? Let's go out to coffee. Let's go have wine. Let's go.
Exactly
Let's
what
go
they're doing.
talk about this."
Yep.
Wow.
Exactly what they're doing.
Wow. Money, money, money.
Yeah.
So do not tell me you can't make money out here.
Yeah. Every option you could imagine.
Every option,
And it's always turning. It's crazy. And
Yeah.
people are just feeding in here. Like there's business and business and business happening. So
So,
Stupid.
what do you think about the Texas market? And, everybody, it seems like everybody's just piling in, and the financial, do you think there's going to, because it seems like there's a lot more investors here now.
mm-hmm.
Am I wrong to
No,
say?
definitely not. So I think that has to do with gentrifying was a big word for a long time that people
Yes.
focused on. They thought, oh, that area was good. Now that so many people are piling in, taxes are going high, that area is kind of getting ran down. But now that these new people are coming in, they might see, because this is all what you pay attention to, especially in commercial, is what demographics are coming in.
Correct.
So they know right outside the Heights is real rough, but they know
Right.
the Heights is where all of the 30-year-olds that are now getting into big business
Right.
and have the money to be down there, they still want to be near all these bars and clubs and
Right.
everything happening in the city. So let's jump out right outside of there, because it's now the Heights is so packed in there.
It is.
Every house is sold
It
always,
is.
so it's hard to get in
For
right
a
there.
high dollar amount
Yeah.
for like 2-bedroom home
Yep.
in the Heights.
Yep.
It's not, and it's a historical district,
Mhm.
so it keeps I guess the developmental district in that area keeps it a certain kind of way and dynamics.
Right. So right above that, you see people starting to gentrify that area.
Okay.
And
And
then,
that word. I know what it is. You know what it is, but let's break that word
yeah,
down.
it has a lot of negative connotation to
Okay.
it. A
Okay.
lot of people have this, you know, idea that it's we're gonna get these people that are struggling, can't pay
Right.
all their bills, we're gonna knock them out of here and push them out of here. Is a lot of what people see it as. Somebody, they think there's a group of people sitting around a room saying, let's do this to make sure we squash
Right.
those people and push them out, which
Right.
not saying that doesn't happen,
Right.
but a lot of times it comes
But that's
with
not
it. It comes with things
necessarily what
growing.
is happening.
Yeah.
Right. What's happening is that it's an area that is close to hospitals and
Mm-hmm.
grocery stores and things that have a high potential, and somehow throughout years or whatever it got kind of ran down.
Right.
And so in order to rejuvenate, like just revamp it, that is something that has been going on all over the Houston market.
Yeah.
Subsidiaries everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like that has been the key. And I know we're stepping off topic a little bit, but I'm going to say this. I've told people this when they got mad about that procedure happening. I said all it has to do is take your community to go in, have community meetings, and start to share love on that area, educate. Maybe if there's a 60 or 70-year-old woman that cannot cut her yard and cannot do this and cannot do that, take her mail out the mailbox, bring it to her in the house, help her out.
Yep.
You can't just sit back and get mad on something that is going to be.
You weren't doing anything for. Someone else will.
Yeah.
That's what they always say. So yeah, you could rebuild that community before somebody else came and said, "Oh, we should rebuild this community."
Right.
So yeah, if people stayed involved with their community and helping it grow, because it's going to grow. There's no fighting that.
No, it's going to grow.
If you were involved in that, you could help it grow the way you wanted it to.
Right. And they can even get creative financing to even help with that. I've seen projects where I think what that was in the wards in the area. They were it's kind of by the Heights. I remember the city of Houston putting in not flower beds, vegetable gardens in the Heights at one of the multi-purpose centers for the collaboration of the neighborhood to come in and free of charge help with the garden. And then the takeaway was weekly. They got like vegetables or they got stuff to build the community back up.
Yeah.
So, but you can also do creative financing, I'm assuming, in pockets of neighborhoods to make it back right.
Right.
Instead of just getting mad and sitting back and saying this has happened.
Right.
Now, jumping back on, let's jump on how, because I'm looking at these notes here, how house hunting is next. Like what is that more about? Have I jumped around too fast for you?
No. Oh, that was getting into the process. So
okay.
Yeah, once you find a realtor or go financing, whatever, a mortgage lender is going to say you need to find a realtor now, so you can go look at a house. Then you start a house hunting. That same commercial, you do that too. You usually find out financing towards the beginning. Okay. Then you go start looking, which is the best route to go because you need to know what you can spend.
Right.
Because a lot of times you got lots of realtors out there and a lot of other parts of the entity that lead you around, let you go, just think you can do whatever you can,
right,
or want to whenever you can't.
Right.
So there's no reason that you don't go study and figure out what you can actually do,
right,
financially first, and then now I have those limitations. Now I know what I'm looking at, exactly where I'm going to be at.
Right.
So yeah, you do that, and then that's just part of the process after that is making an offer, getting your inspection, appraisal, things like that, following the regular buying process of then once all that's done, negotiations are done, closing on it, moving in or starting your business in there.
So I'm gonna have a two-part, but the first part is, do you see a lot of cash deals in real estate? Do you see a lot, like nowadays, do you see a lot of that, and where they just say, forget that leverage, cash is king, I'm just gonna come in here with the cash.
Right.
And you can't win them over by saying, wait a minute, don't just use all your cash. Do you
Right.
see still a lot of cash deals?
I've turned a lot of people off of doing that because of that reason.
Right,
And knowing their position and where they're at in life,
right,
and like an older person using every single dime,
right,
trying to invest it into something like that in a house that they're going to live in, I'm like,
right,
that's probably not the best situation for you because
right,
who knows how long you'll be here before
right,
you all of that returns and
right.
you don't have any cash to pay these
And you
bills on
can't
this
take it
big
with
house.
you, right? You can't take it with you, and you
Yeah,
need to make sure you have good leverage for the people you left stuff for behind.
right. And I mean, you can look at it however you want, and it's situational by situational, but I like to just educate people on this a little bit and say, well, you should at least look at it this way and then
Right,
talk to the lender and mention these things because lenders are
right,
the same way. They just, sometimes there's bad lenders out there that just do whatever you tell them and get the deal done. That's it. They
right,
don't guide you
right,
and educate you on
right,
other options or what could happen and things like
right.
that. And sometimes there's only so much time for most of
For
that.
educating.
Yeah,
But in our market and the people we service, they kind of come with more type of knowledge of things, not necessarily knowledge of what all to do with the money, because we've seen a lot of celebrities and we've seen a lot of people have these. I mean, it's all over. I can't even remember the guy's name that's on TikTok that actually goes to abandoned mansions, and they are celebrity mansions and they're just sitting there and they're just rotting away.
yeah,
um Maybe it wasn't creative financing happening,
right.
maybe it was everything,
Exactly.
everything that went
Could have
in
saved that house.
could have
Probably.
saved that house. But there's so many houses like that,
Hmm.
so many houses that have been just sitting up, and it just it amazes me to see that,
Yeah.
and then when they go into the interior, it's like, falling apart and stuff. So I'm looking at the final mortgage approval, the inspection, the closing day, commercial, all of that. So
Oh, and then we were talking about cash. To go back to that.
yeah,
Yep. 2020. It's all obviously. Then this is everywhere. A crazy jump in the cash buyers. Everyone was like, "Where are all these people coming from with all this cash?"
you know what's funny? I was one of those people within that time frame. I'm
Really?
serious. Yeah, because I remember I bought a ranch, an acre.
Oh yeah.
And to this day I still haven't seen it. So I'm just like, so I don't even know where the cash came from.
Right.
So seriously, you're right. So tell me more about that. Like, what do you think happened, or what? I don't even know where the money came from.
Obviously, a lot of people. Yeah.
Now, I'm legal
did
now.
a lot of
I'm
right.
legal.
Yeah.
Let's get that. Let's get that straight.
Yeah.
I'm legal. But go ahead.
A lot of people
All my
did.
stuff.
Right, and I think that is a lot of people felt like that too. Like, where did I get all this all of a sudden? I need to
Right.
hurry and spend it and get
Right.
rid of it,
Right.
A lot of it is all deemed towards like people moving in here from other states.
Right.
So, California had a big influx here, especially Houston. So you saw all of those properties sell for triple what our market is here.
Right.
Which obviously we have those areas,
Right.
but all of California is on that level, whereas you can dance around it in Houston area and
Right.
get some really good deals for a fraction of what they pay over there. So
Right.
all this money they had invested in these properties that shot up in value, they have all that cash now from that. So
Right.
they come in competing with other Houstonians moving around, and they're like, oh nope, I have that full in cash, plus I have some to float with for my sale over here in
Right.
California, so I will buy that today. And they were waiving, and my family bought a property here, and at the same time during all of that, and they struggled with that. People coming in every time they would put an offer on a house, there'd be 20 offers, and the first 10 were all cash.
Right.
So they're only looking at these,
Right.
seller's only looking at these really because they're saying, okay, they were negotiating against all of them too.
Right.
So that's why they come up with the bidding wars,
Right.
where everybody's competing on their offers over and over again.
And we're not talking about a tax auction.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not talking. We're talking about straight money
Yeah.
being laid on the table, saying, "Hey,
Here it
this
is.
is here it is. This is what I want. I don't even need a bank. I don't need a investor. I don't need." So there's so many different strategies when it comes to that. And you're right. People, were leveraging stuff and making money moves.
Right.
And that, I think that is the tickler for Texas right now, is how, as Texas don't, we got another generation that we want to be homeowners. That, when I'm not talking, because, our show is mainly about the luxury end, but you got a group of, in the luxury industry, you got their children.
Yep.
Their children needs to purchase homes too. And if the parents are still, they're going to be in the wheels, but they need to purchase homes too eventually.
Right.
So that market, because of other people coming from other places here, it's making those millionaire kids kind of struggle a little bit,
right,
when it comes to purchasing and getting their first home.
Yeah, because now they're competing with some people on a high level,
right?
That they thought we were the only niche in this. Nope,
right.
We got all these people in other states that have just as much or
right.
more money.
So basically, the high echelon is battling just like
normal.
the middle class echelon,
right.
trying to get property and acquire things and getting things that are necessary to have a legacy and an asset for their family, even though you can't take it with you.
Right.
But while we're here, we're gonna look good and play good, right?
Right.
Wow, this is amazing. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, this is amazing. I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Yep.
So, what else can you share with us before we wrap this one up?
Okay, so something I was just thinking of, little tips and tricks.
Okay.
To do with financing are just the secrets that whenever you find a good realtor, that you see someone that can come up with these options. Like, obviously, I guide people and tell stories and scenarios to help show them that there are other options that would be better for them.
Right.
But beyond that, say you run into something that, like we keep talking about, is I have all this money. Why is she saying that I'm gonna have to? I have to do all this, or I can only buy it in cash, or whatever. Right. So then you come up with the real estate agents get together and say, well, we can, if you put this money over here and do this like this, and then it looks good, and then we send it back to the lender, and she's like, okay, that looks better. I can make that work. So to find somebody, and I'm not going to go into all that because that's my little secret that I carry around. That
makes sense. That makes sense because I was, prior to meeting you, because of the company that I have a list of realtors we use for different things. I have a realtor that I use for land in my more rural areas. I have a realtor for just various things. And so you're absolutely right, because when I went to acquire something, they were like, credit score is like at the top notch, money in the bank. And then it was just literally having just to move some money into, like, I think it was a health save. I don't know. It was some health savings, something.
Yeah.
And it just looked better.
Money.
Secure. Yeah. So I was like, wow. Okay. And it even helped me with my taxes.
Yeah.
And some of those little things you don't know unless you talk to your CPA or you talk to somebody and they educate you on different things. So I always tell people a no will always be a yes. You just have to figure out how to take the no.
How to make it a yes.
How to make it a yes, and make it a yes the legal way, but how to make it a yes by somebody telling you no and you're going, wait a minute, well, why? And sometimes they tell you no without even telling you why.
Right.
They just say, no, we can't do it.
Almost always.
No, we can't do it. And then you're like, well, you're in the boat and you're like, can somebody help me to figure out what do I need to do? Because I know I can do it. I just don't know how to choreograph it.
Right.
And so that helps when you build that type of relationship.
And I think that's where real estate agents have kind of fell into as our mini jobs.
You're a counselor now.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Literally.
LL, whatever it is behind you. Yeah.
Literally, it just feels like we do wear a million different hats. But I think most realtors have noticed I need somebody that the clients need someone to help figure this out and line them up and connect them to this person and figure out the deal for them to make this work in the right way and to make everyone money.
Right.
And all this stuff happens in commercial too. Does the same thing.
Oh yeah.
Business loans sometimes are crazy to get because you do have to prove a lot more and
tax returns and a lot more than just the 2 years. Sometimes it just kind of It's just kind of, it's different.
And show your worth to run a business.
Right.
So you got to prove yourself.
Right.
They look into that. A lot of people don't think about that, the way they present themselves to a bank.
Right.
That matters now that you're
Right.
running a business. So
Right.
they want to see your job history say something about you.
Right.
They want to see references that say something about you.
And they don't want to hear nothing about you ain't do your taxes.
Right.
If you ain't do your taxes, then you got a whole other situation.
Right.
You know, because
Yeah.
they're like, well, what do we have to look at that's prior to, even though your structure is this way?
Yeah. Which is funny in creative financing, speaking about taxes, that they'll not look at certain things.
Right.
They'll accept, maybe you are trying to get that organized still.
Right.
But you're like, I still need a house right now.
Right. Or you might be going through a divorce and own a
That
business.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all that's kind of in limbo, which doesn't look good to the
Right.
normal qualifying mortgages. Well, this group's saying, I don't have to look at all that.
Right.
This is my own deal.
Right.
I'm not running by the government loans. So
Right.
if you can prove to me this, I can
Right.
make that happen.
Which, by the way,
understand.
is it going to still be government loans? That's a whole nother
Right.
topic. So,
Yeah.
is it going to be creative financing for the Fannie Mae and all? Things are switching and changing,
Right.
which is probably good in various ways to probably create something new because there's still a lot of people that can't get the home that they need in the limitation that we're at, like where we're at. There's a lot of people that can't get into that qualifying home that they want to get it, not want to, but that they can qualify for because they've got a lot of money coming in.
Right.
And taxes sometimes can eat up on the wealthy as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think people don't realize that.
No.
The more you have, you do have to pay for it too.
Right.
So, all right. Well, this was very interesting. I really enjoyed it. You kind of really taught me a little bit about that investor side, and then also, what was those groups of people called? I said, don't come after me. That not the investor, but the
Wholesalers.
The wholesalers. That's that new group in my mindset. That because what year did they usually come out in? That kind of came. Has it always been there?
Yeah, those groups have always been there. You see it a lot in what a lot of those groups focus on is, like you said, those lower incomes. So like whenever the market starts
to sink
a little bit, and they can get good deals, because that's kind of, to be a middleman, I can only make money off of a deal that I can resell for more without having, to actually be. A lot of the wholesalers aren't someone that flips the house or rents it out or anything like that. That's not what they're into.
Right.
So they have to be able to buy it to then make a profit off of it still. So they have to get in that lower range. And that's even in the $1 million range too. So you see it all around because it has a lot to do with not wanting to get foreclosed on. I can get rid of this and take the loss.
Right.
So if I get rid of it right now, that's where the wholesaler jumps in. I see, and they have products that can tell them, who's been about to be filed on.
Right.
I'm going to call on them, and I'm going to say, hey, to stop this from happening, which is sort of, you kind of guide people with that as well.
Yeah, with the short sales and stuff like that.
Right, it's sort of like that, yeah.
Okay. Well, today's topic was very interesting. I enjoyed myself. I hope y'all enjoyed yourself with Austin and myself. As always, we're going to come with you with so many different topics, so many different things that is just going to kind of get you going and make you think. And anytime, always, comment, like, share, all of that. But once again, stay healthy, wealthy, and wise, and we'll do the same.
Love it. Bye.